someone carried your face into a room I never sent them into. They sat down across a small table from a stranger. They slid your photograph forward under a lamp that had been turned down too low, in a room that smelled like smoke and old wax, and they asked a question that was never that stranger's to answer. They wanted to know who you are. And the story came back the way stories always come back, passed from one hand to another until it finally reached you. That the stranger looked down at your face and started to shake. That the stranger wept. And that what came down that stranger's cheeks was not water. You heard it. Maybe from the very person who went. Maybe from someone who could not wait to be the one who told you. And something inside your chest moved in a way you have not been able to explain to anyone since. Part of you wanted to laugh it off. You know better than that. You have known better your whole life. But there is another part of you. The tired part. The part that has been awake at 3 in the morning far more often than you have ever admitted out loud. And that part leaned in. That part heard the story and thought, finally, somebody sees something in me, because I have not been able to see it in myself for a long time now. My child, I watched that entire thing happen. I was not offended. I was not shocked. I was not standing off in a corner with my arms folded, waiting for you to feel ashamed of being curious. I was grieved. But not the way you assume. I was grieved because someone who loves you went looking for your worth in a room where your worth has never once been kept. They went to a stranger to find out what I have been saying over you since before your mother knew your name. You have never been able to say that out loud. That the story got to you. That it should not have gotten to you and it did anyway. That a rumor from a room you do not even believe in managed to reach a place inside you that sermons and encouragement and good advice have not touched in years. That tells me exactly how long you have gone without hearing your own name spoken with love. And you have been carrying that story around ever since. Turning it over when the house goes quiet. Wondering what the stranger saw. Wondering whether it means something is finally about to move. Wondering, in the smallest and most honest place inside you, whether it was good news or a warning. So let me answer the question that was asked in that room. Not the way a stranger answered it. The way the one who made you answers it. You are mine. And whatever fell on that table was not the first blood that has ever been shed over your face. Now let me tell you what nobody sitting at that table knew. They did not know about the nights. They did not know that you have a certain hour that belongs to you and to no one else. 2 in the morning, or 3, when the house is so quiet you can hear the refrigerator running in the kitchen. You lie there on your back with your eyes open and you do the arithmetic of your own life. What went wrong? Who left? What it would take to fix it? How many years you have already spent waiting for something to change, and how quickly those years went by once they were behind you. You do not tell anyone about that hour. You get up in the morning and you make the coffee and you answer the messages and you show up. And people say you seem good. And you say thank you, things are fine. That stranger with your photograph did not know how much it costs you to say the word fine. They did not know about the money. About the way your stomach drops when a certain envelope comes, or a certain number lights up your phone. About the arithmetic you do in the parking lot before you go inside a store. About how tired a person can get of being one small emergency away from everything falling over. They did not know how good you have become at the small performance. The tone of voice you use on the phone. The way you can walk into a room where everyone is happy and match them within about 4 seconds. The way you have learned to ask other people questions about themselves so that nobody gets close enough to ask you one back. You are not a liar. You are tired. There is a difference, and I have never once confused the two. They did not know about the friendship that ended without anyone ever raising their voice. There was no fight. There was no moment. There was just a slow quiet where the calls used to be, and you still do not fully understand what happened, and some part of you has decided it must have been something in you. They did not know about the prayers. Beloved, I want to be very careful here, because this is the tender place. You have prayed. You have prayed with the bedroom door shut so nobody would hear you crying. You have prayed in your car with the engine off, sitting in a driveway, unable to make yourself walk into your own house. You have prayed with your face down on a bathroom floor, and then you have gotten up and washed your face and gone back out to make dinner as if nothing happened. And there were seasons when it felt like the words went up and hit a ceiling and slid back down onto you. That is the part that shames you most. Not the doubt. The waiting. The feeling that you asked correctly and faithfully and for a very long time, and heard nothing back, and everyone around you seemed to be getting answered. You have never said that sentence out loud to another living person. You have thought it 100 times in that quiet hour, and every single time you have pushed it back down, because good people do not say that, and you have worked very hard to be a good person. I heard it every time you thought it. I did not flinch. I have watched you carry things that would have broken people twice your size. I have watched you keep your promises when nobody would have blamed you for breaking them. I have watched you show up for people who did not show up for you, and then apologize for being tired. And I have watched you look at your own reflection in the morning and quietly decide that you are behind. Behind where you should be, behind where they are, behind where you were supposed to be by now. There is a photograph of you from years ago that you cannot look at for very long. Not because of how you looked. Because of how much you still believed back then. You look at that face and you think that one had no idea what was coming, and you feel something close to grief for a person who is technically still alive. You have grown careful with your hope. You measure it out now in small amounts, the way somebody rations water. Because hoping fully and being wrong cost you more than you were prepared to pay, and you decided somewhere along the way that you would rather expect nothing than survive that particular landing again. Nobody taught you to be that way. Life did. So tell me something honestly, since it is only the two of us here. When you heard that a stranger looked at your photograph and wept, why did some part of you feel relieved? You already know the answer, do you not? Because for one moment you thought that maybe there was something in you worth weeping over, and you had not been sure of that in years. Now let me speak gently about where you went looking. I know about the psychic. That is not the beginning of the list, and both of us know it. I know about the app on your phone that you deleted twice and downloaded again. I know about the horoscope you read on the way to work, telling yourself the whole time that you did not believe it, only checking. I know about the cards. I know about the woman someone recommended, the one who reads people, the one your cousin swears by. I know about the videos you watched at midnight with the volume turned almost all the way down, the ones that promised you a sign within 24 hours. I know how many times you have typed a name into a search bar and then deleted it before pressing enter. And I know about the times you did not look for a mystic at all. The times you simply took the whole weight of it onto your own back and decided that if nobody was going to answer you, you would fix it yourself. More hours. More work. Less sleep. Less asking. I know about the numbing too. The scrolling that goes on far past the point where it feels good. The pouring of one more glass. The second helping you did not want. The shopping that gave you 15 minutes of relief and then a receipt you hid. My child, hear me carefully. I am not building a case against you. I know exactly why you went. You did not go because you stopped loving me. You went because you were exhausted and the silence had gone on so long that you could no longer tell the difference between being tested and being forgotten. You went because fear does not sit still. Fear will always go somewhere. And when a person has waited long enough without an answer, fear will walk into any room that promises one. You went because you needed somebody, anybody, to tell you that your life was going somewhere. That is not wickedness. That is thirst. And I want to say something about the shame you have been carrying since you heard about that room, because the shame is doing more damage than the room ever did. You have been afraid that I am keeping a record. That somewhere there is a running total of every horoscope and every card and every midnight video, and that the total explains why your prayers have been slow to answer. You have half believed that you disqualified yourself, and that is why nothing has moved. Hear me. That is not how I work, and it has never been how I work. I do not withhold from you because you got desperate. A father does not punish a thirsty child for drinking from a puddle. He grieves that the child did not know where the well was, and then he walks the child to the well. You cannot lose your place with me by being human in a hard season. You did not fall out of my hand. You went looking in the dark for something that was standing right beside you the whole time with the light on. Come here. That is all the correction there is. There was a king once who understood that exact night better than anyone. His name was Saul. He had heard from heaven directly. Prophets had spoken over him. He had been anointed in front of his whole nation, and there had been a season when everything he touched moved. And then it went quiet. The prophet died. The dreams stopped. Saul asked, and nothing came back, and the army of his enemies was massing on the hill in front of him, and he could not sleep, and he could not think, and the silence became louder than the war. So he put on different clothes so nobody would recognize him, and he walked at night to a woman in a place called Endor, the very kind of woman he himself had banned from the whole country, and he sat down in the dark and asked her to tell him what was coming. He did not go because he was evil. He went because he was terrified and tired and could not stand the quiet one more night. I want you to notice something about that story that people rush past. Saul never asked whether he was still loved. He only asked what was going to happen. He wanted information. He did not think to ask for the one thing that would have actually held him. Beloved, that is the trap. Not the room. Not the cards. The trap is going after a forecast when what you actually need is a father. A forecast tells you what is coming. A father tells you that you will not face it by yourself. You did not need to know the future. You needed to know that you were not being punished by the silence. Those are two entirely different hungers, and the world will happily sell you the wrong one. So let me tell you what the silence has actually been. There was a young man named Joseph, 17 years old, who had dreams that were far too large for the family he was born into. He told them. They hated him for it. His own brothers threw him into a dry pit in the ground and sat down to eat their lunch while he screamed, and then they sold him to traders going down to Egypt for a handful of silver. Consider what that boy lost in a single afternoon. His father. His home. His language. His name. He went into that pit as a favored son and came out of it as property. And then it got worse, which is the part nobody wants to hear. He worked. He was faithful. He built something in Potiphar's house, and a woman lied about him, and he went straight from being trusted into a prison cell with iron on his feet, and there was no trial and no defense and nobody who cared enough to check the story. In that prison he helped a man. He interpreted a dream for the cupbearer and asked one small favor. Remember me. That is all he asked. Remember me when you get out. And the man walked out into the sunlight and forgot him completely. For 2 full years. 2 years, my child. 730 mornings of waking up in the dark on stone and wondering whether heaven had lost the file with his name on it. Now here is what Joseph could not see from inside that cell. Egypt was not his punishment. Egypt was his address for the day the famine came. The pit moved him. The lie positioned him. The prison put him within one conversation of the throne. And the 2 forgotten years were not wasted time, because the famine that his whole life was built to answer had not arrived yet. If the cupbearer had remembered him early, Joseph would have walked out a free man and into obscurity, and the nations that came to him for bread would have starved. The delay was not the absence of a plan. The delay was the plan keeping time. And notice what happened to him inside that waiting, because this is the part that matters for you tonight. The boy who went into the pit could not have handled the palace. He was gifted, and he was proud, and he told his dreams to people who could not carry them. The man who walked out of that prison was something else entirely. He could stand in front of the most powerful man in the world and give credit away without flinching. He could look at the very brothers who sold him, standing in front of him hungry and not recognizing his face, and choose not to destroy them when he easily could have. That is not talent. Talent does not do that. Only something forged slowly in the dark does that. And when he finally spoke to those brothers, he did not say that what they did was acceptable. He said that they meant it for harm, and that God meant it for good, and both of those things were true at the same time. My child, both of those things are true about your story too. What was done to you was wrong. I am not asking you to call it good. I am telling you that it will not get the final word, because I have been quietly writing a different ending underneath the one you were handed. Look at your own life the way I am looking at it right now. The door that closed on you 3 years ago and humiliated you. The relationship that ended and left you convinced that you are unlovable. The job that let you go. The move you did not want to make. The prayer that went unanswered so long that you eventually stopped praying it. I was not ignoring you in any of it. I was arranging you. Some of what you begged me for would have arrived on time and destroyed you, because it would have come to the version of you who had not yet learned to survive it. Some of the doors that closed were closing on rooms with no floor. Some of the people who walked away from you were being removed, and you have been mourning a rescue. And the years that felt forgotten built something in you that comfort has never once been able to build in anybody. Look at what you are now. Look at what you can carry. Look at who comes to you when their world falls apart, and ask yourself why they choose you. They choose you because of the pit. Now let me show you something that already happened, because you almost missed it. Not long ago, on an ordinary weekday, you had already decided something in your heart. You did not announce it. You did not even fully form it into words. You had simply reached the place where you decided you were going to stop asking for a certain thing, because asking had started to hurt more than not having it. That afternoon you went out to run an errand you did not want to run. You were standing in a line. Your mind was somewhere else entirely, somewhere heavy. And a stranger turned around and spoke to you. An older woman, or a man with kind eyes, someone you had never seen before and have not seen since. And they said something small. Something about your face. Something about how you were going to be all right. They said it almost apologetically, the way people do when they are saying something they do not fully understand themselves. And you said thank you. And you smiled the way you smile. And then you got to your car and you sat there and you could not turn the key for a full minute, because something in your chest had come loose and you did not know why. You told nobody. You drove home and made dinner. And by the next morning you had filed the whole thing away under coincidence, because that is what you have been trained to do with kindness that has no explanation. My child, that was me. That was me putting a hand on your shoulder in a public place because you had stopped letting me do it in private. That was an answer walking up to you in a checkout line. And you almost gave it away to chance. And that was not the only one. There was a morning not long after when you woke up before your alarm for no reason at all, and the house was still dark, and for about 90 seconds you felt something you have not been able to describe since. Not happiness. Something steadier than that. A kind of quiet certainty that everything was going to be handled. It faded by the time the coffee was made. You did not think about it again until right now. That was not a mood. That was me letting you feel the temperature of what is coming, for 90 seconds, because you needed proof that you were still able to feel it at all. And there is something else that has already begun that you have not connected yet. The person who took your photograph into that room. Something happened to them there. Not what they went looking for. Something else. They have not been the same since. They have been quieter. They have brought you up in conversation twice now for no clear reason. And they have said something to you recently, or they are about to, that they have not said in years. Something about praying. Something about coming back. Something about how they cannot stop thinking about you and they do not know why. They walked into that room to get information about your future, and they walked out convicted about their own soul. I did not send them there. But I have never once wasted a room. Now come back with me to that table. Back to the low lamp and the smell of old wax and your photograph lying face up on the wood. Back to the story you have not stopped turning over. Back to the moment somebody looked at your face and could not hold themselves together, and what came down was not water. You have been asking the wrong question about that room. You have been asking what the stranger saw. Ask instead why your face has ever been worth blood in the first place. Because there was another night, in a garden, under old olive trees, when a man knelt down on the ground alone while his friends slept a stone's throw away. And he knew every single thing that was coming. And he asked the Father, if there is any other way, let this cup pass. And there was no other way. And what came down his face into that dirt, Luke wrote it down, was like great drops of blood. He was not weeping over a photograph. He did not need one. He was weeping over you, by name, in full, with every year of your life already open in front of him. The nights you would not sleep. The prayers you would give up on. The rooms you would walk into out of exhaustion. The morning you would look in a mirror and decide you were behind. He saw all of it before the first nail was ever lifted, and he did not get up and walk away. Nobody had to tell him who you are. Nobody informed him. Nobody read your face and gasped. He already knew, and he went anyway. So hear this, and let it settle into the deepest room in you, where you keep the things you never say. The only tears of blood that ever decided your worth were shed by me, in a garden, with your name already in my mouth, long before any stranger ever looked at your picture and wept. That is the sentence. That is the one I want you to carry out of tonight. Your value was not discovered in a dark room this year. It was paid for in a garden 2,000 years ago, and the price has never once been renegotiated. You are not waiting to find out if you are chosen. You have been walking around already bought. Think about what that undoes. If your worth was settled in a garden before you were born, then the person who left cannot lower it. The job that let you go cannot lower it. The number in your account cannot lower it. The years you consider wasted cannot lower it. And no stranger in any dim room anywhere on this earth can raise it either, because it is already at the highest price that has ever been paid for anything. There is nothing left to find out about you. There is only something left to walk in. So stop auditioning. You already have the part. You have had it since before the world was made, and I am not the kind of father who changes his mind about his own children when they have a bad year. And someone you love is carrying this exact same silent weight tonight, sitting in a different house, believing the same lie about themselves. They may need to hear this before the week is over. And if these words have found the exact place in you that needed them, let it be known, even if only to me. Now let me pray over you, and I want you to receive it as though I am standing directly in front of you, because I am. Father, this one belongs to me. You know the exact weight this one has been carrying. You know the hour of the night that has become their own private hour. You know every prayer that was prayed on a bathroom floor and never repeated to another living person. Father, give this one wisdom. Not cleverness. Wisdom. Let them know the right thing to do in the moment they need to do it. Quiet the noise of every voice that is not ours. Let the counsel of strangers lose its grip. Let the pull toward every room that promises answers go dead in them, not because they are afraid of it, but because they have finally tasted something real. Cover them, Father. Cover the road they drive. Cover the house they sleep in. Cover the hours they are not thinking about their own safety. Let no scheme built in the dark against them stand in the light. Let what was meant to break them become the very thing that establishes them. Give them courage. Not the loud kind. The kind that gets up on the morning after the worst night and puts feet on the floor anyway. The kind that makes one more phone call. The kind that says the honest sentence out loud to somebody safe. Heal them, Father. Heal the body they have stopped mentioning to anyone. Heal the mind that will not stop running at night. Heal the memory that still makes their face go hot when it surfaces. Reach into the wound they have covered so well that even the people closest to them have never seen it, and close it from the inside. Restore what was taken. Restore the years the locusts ate. Restore the confidence that was stripped off them by people who were never qualified to judge them. Give back the joy that leaked out slowly over a long season, until they laugh again without checking whether they are allowed to. Provide for them, Father. Not barely. Not just enough to keep the fear alive. Provide with room in it. Let the envelope come and let there be peace instead of dread. Let them be the one who gives instead of the one who calculates. Open doors that no committee can close and no history can disqualify. Break the thing that has held them, Father. Break the pattern that came down through the family line and was handed to them as though it were theirs to keep. Break the agreement they made with despair in a dark season. Break the ceiling they were told they would never rise above. Hold their family. Hold the child they lie awake worrying over. Hold the parent who is aging faster than they are ready for. Hold the marriage that has gone quiet, and put words back in the mouths of two people who used to talk until midnight. Where there is estrangement, soften both sides at the same time so that neither has to be the only one who moves first. Guard their work, Father. Let the thing they have built quietly, with nobody watching and nobody applauding, be seen by the right eyes at the right hour. Let the years of unnoticed faithfulness come due. Let the ones who overlook them be the ones who need them. Return their name to them, Father. Whatever was said about them behind closed doors, let it fall. Whatever reputation was shaped by somebody else's version of the story, let the truth of who they are arrive in the rooms where it matters. And Father, the loneliness. You know about that one. Send real people. Not a crowd. One or two who see them clearly and stay anyway. Let them be known by someone with skin on, and let them stop apologizing for needing that. Give them peace, Father. The kind that does not require the situation to be fixed first. Let them sleep tonight the way a child sleeps in a house with a locked door and a father awake in the next room. And strengthen their faith. Not so that they will perform it well. So that when the next silence comes, and it will come, they will know how to stand inside it without deciding they have been abandoned. Father, let this one stop searching for their identity in rooms where it was never stored. And someone reading this tonight is carrying a weight nobody in their house knows about. Bring it out into the open. Give them one safe person to say it to before the week is over. Beloved, come back to me now. I am not going to hand you a forecast tonight. I am going to hand you something better than a forecast, because a forecast would only keep you until the next hard week. Here is what you get instead. You get me. Awake in the next room. Present in the hour that belongs to you and nobody else. Already holding the year you have not seen yet. You do not have to go find out who you are. You have never once been a mystery. You were known before you were formed. You were wanted before you were useful. You were paid for before you were sorry. Sleep tonight like someone who has already been found. Because you have.